While the glamping industry is growing and business is great, few people consider their future plans of how to maximise bookings in the shoulder season. Those months that are notoriously slow, let alone those high demand times. But what happens when bookings dip unexpectedly for a while? What can you do then? This is when you need a feeder business. That's the type of business that feeds customers into your other business. So how does that work with glamping? Well, I'm delighted to share this chat with Sarah Dale, a mobile glamping business operator who recently set up two businesses, her mobile glamping business and a retreat events business for C-level corporate executives. Sarah drops some gold in this episode for anyone curious about how glamping and retreat events are symbiotic and together they blend perfectly. Enjoy. Welcome to the Glamping Americas podcast, the place for inspiration about the business of upscale camping, glamping, and luxury outdoor guest accommodations. I'm Sarah Riley from the Glamping Academy, and I'm working with my friends at the Glamping Show Americas to share everything you need to know about new trends, events, business models, and investment potential in the rapidly growing world of luxury camping that delivers an experience. Interest in this industry is exploding, so if you want to be the first to find out what's hot and what's not, subscribe here and check out the show notes for more exciting news and links. And be sure to add the next Glamping Show Americas to your calendar for the 1st and 2nd of October 2024 near Denver, Colorado. I can't wait. Sarah, it's so fantastic to have you. I'm so pleased that you've given me your time today because I have really enjoyed working with you. It's just been an absolute pleasure. And you have a business which has two of my favorite things, glamping, but also retreats. So tell me a little bit about the two elements and what it's all about.
So it started with glamping. I started the campus experience with my husband just a year ago, and it's a mobile glamping business in, around New York City, above New York. And that sort of led me to trying to expand that business from going from backyards and campgrounds, which has been lovely. We also want to do bigger things. So I had an idea for a retreat that I thought I could do with our glamping tents, and sort of one thing led to another, and that's become its own business now, using glamping tents and sometimes not using glamping tents, but it's propelled me into a second business that really is the main thing is about retreats.
You are focusing on a specific style of retreat, which is something that people often talk about and they're quite curious about. I often have people say to me, oh, I'd really like to do corporate retreats and retreats that actually focus on professional women or professional men, whatever it might be, or a mixture of the two. So tell me a little bit about who your customer is and what they can expect from going to your retreats.
So our retreats now are really focused on professional, high-performing women. And there's sort of a twist to it that, you could go on a, career-focused, leadership-focused women's retreat pretty much anywhere at any time, I think. But what I'm doing is really leveraging the experiences that I had living in Montana. And out there, I learned so many things that I just never thought I would, having grown up in New Jersey, living in New York City. And, I did bow hunting and horseback riding and fly fishing and more sort of wilderness focused things. And it was so empowering to me. And then I came back to New York City and had this, long career. And I just thought, if I could get corporate women to have that kind of experience without having to move to Montana for 7 years, but if I could get them to, go outside of their comfort zone, learn things maybe that they've always wanted to learn, from chopping wood to jump starting a car to whatever it is that just makes us feel like we are more and more self-reliant. I feel like that transfers really nicely into our leadership skills at work and through our careers. So I'm developing retreats that have all of those elements in terms of activities of things that you just might not expect to do, wilderness survival training and stuff like that, archery, really, and it's fun. And then 50% of the retreat, the other part of the retreat, is really about our leadership skills and really focused on leadership and career kind of topics. And then all of that encompasses networking. So that the idea is that we can accelerate our rise to the C-suite.
What you've actually developed is so much more than retreats, actually. As you started from the beginning, your vision was this, it's going to be what you've just described, but then it's become so much bigger and you're really evolving and expanding. And tell me a little bit about that and the business model you've decided to implement.
Yeah, so when I first started developing the retreat idea, it was a fantastic retreat that I had on paper, but it was so expensive. And so I started trying to add more value to it. And as I was doing that, it encompassed, like after the retreat, we could do this and we could do that, and I could do this. And all of a sudden I realized that this isn't a retreat or just a retreat. This is a community. And so it's developed into a membership model where women participate in the retreats, and they can be anything from half a day to multi-day to week-long kind of events. But then in all the in-between spaces, we have an online community, we do virtual events, and we do all the things that you would expect from a leadership community. But it's really about women supporting women in their careers and in their journeys, so that that's one of the things I think that can build us is having the support from other women. So it's ongoing now. It's not just a one and done kind of flash retreat. It's like a series of regular events, so that we're constantly getting out of our comfort zone, and anytime you need it, there's a whole community supporting you.
And one of the things that I've been really privileged to be part of, I believe, is the fact that I've seen your business and your ideas evolve from on the piece of paper, kind of scrappy ideas, kind of how we could do this and we could do this and do, to something that's so amazing now that you've even got a clubhouse and you've got all of these amazing elements, and you've got the days of badassery, and you've also got the actual retreat, and you've got the membership and the membership portal and everything else there. So
Yeah.
tell me first a little bit about your day of badassery and where the word came from and what it's all about.
Right. Gosh, I wish I knew where that word came from, because I just was like, I know what it is. It's a day of badassery. But it's my minimally viable product, right? So my some of my background was in the tech world. So that what you designed first is like, what is the minimally viable product that you could do to sort of test the idea? And so I'd had the idea for this much bigger kind of retreat, and then sort of parlayed that into, maybe this is really a membership community. Let me test this out. And so I have 10 women come to my house, which I don't have a ton of property, but I have 3 acres about an hour north of New York City. And they come to my house and we do archery and we do some car stuff, and we chop wood and build fires and we chase some chickens, and I'm adding things to it all the time too. So could be we're putting up a tent, or it could be, those lots of different things. And we have a series of activities that we do together, and then we change for dinner and we get dressed up and we go into one of our glamping lounge tents, which is beautifully furnished and decorated. And we have wine and charcuterie, and we talk about a real leadership topic that's meaningful to the group. And we give each other, advice, and have a really, impactful conversation. And then we unzip the second tent that nobody has seen yet. And inside is a dining table, beautifully appointed, and candles and flowers and all of that. And then a private chef comes and serves us an incredible 3-course meal, and a lot of wine, and great conversation ensues. And it's great because the original the original name for this, years ago when I had the idea originally, was Grace and Grit. And the idea was to really celebrate both sides of us, as if there's only two, but to really get both sides of that. So we do some gritty things, and then we sort of celebrate the grace of femininity, I guess, and really have a wonderful evening together. And people have loved it. They can't believe. I thought that they would be talking about the archery and I got a bullseye and all that kind of stuff, but they're talking about, I can't believe I made 5 new friends.
Mm.
Um, they're getting jobs through each other. They're getting, all of those kinds of things are happening because it's just so much more fun to network this way.
Yeah.
And then they're leaving with, knowing that they could do stuff that they didn't think they could do.
It's really opening those doors, isn't it, to another level of networking, because they've had all these experiences that have taken them outside of their comfort zone. They've done stuff they've never done before, which actually for C-level women, it's very few things they've probably never done before. So that in itself opens up the mind and opens up the opportunities. And then they have this network of people in front of them that can give them even more opportunity. I think it sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
So how many of days of badassery have you done now? How many are there?
I think I've done 6. The weather didn't cooperate for a couple of them, so I had to get to move those. But I've done 6 so far. We have another one at the end of August, and that's all moving towards the retreat that we're having in October.
So you started out as wanting to name your business Grace and Grit, and then you decided you had to change it. Tell me a little bit about that and what you changed it to.
So I couldn't name it Grace and Grit. It's taken. If anybody's named anything, it is so difficult, whether it's a band or a child or anything. So difficult. So I struggled, and there was one word that kept coming to me that was very descriptive around what I was really trying to do, because it's hard to explain, really. And it was Renaissance. And if you think about Renaissance women or Renaissance men, like it's like people who really know a lot about a lot of different things, and sometimes very contradictory things, that's sort of like welding and knitting or something, like they're, expansive people. And I thought that's what I'm wanting to do, is expand all of us and myself included. And so I toyed around with Renaissance everything, and everything is taken. So I thought, well, when did the Renaissance start? Because that's kind of what we're in right now. We're going to start something. So it was 1490 is the year the Renaissance started. And so that's why it's Project 1490.
Yes, I love that. And it kind of, for me, it triggers a bit of curiosity. It's like, why is that Project 1490? What does that mean? And where has it come from? And that curiosity, I think, on a marketing level is really important. And so you have gone from a traditionally corporate existence to
Yep.
now running a lifestyle business. So tell me about that transition and how it's been for you.
Oh, it was such a journey, because I really had the wish to do this 20 something years ago, when I was living in Montana, and then I moved back to New York City, and I went back into my advertising career. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 something years. I was a C-level most recently at an ad tech company, but I always had this idea nagging at me, and I finally put it on the table to sort of the right group of people. And they really just got me unstuck, because a couple of things that they had said to me. One person said, just start with 5 people. And that was such a big change for me, because having been, pretty ambitious in my career and that kind of person, I guess, A-type, whatever we want to call it, I was thinking like, oh, this has to be like, the next unicorn, or like I have to get funding, and, all of those sorts of things. I was thinking it had to be so big. And when he said, start with 5 people, I kind of translated that to start with 3/10. And because the wish underneath all of this is to get people back into nature. And so I thought, well, let's start with 3/10 and getting them in their backyards or into campgrounds. Like, let's start there. And that was just huge. And then I had a whole list of other reasons why I couldn't do this yet. Because I couldn't leave my job. I was, I couldn't not pay for my kids' college, all of those kinds of concerns. And it was actually the CEO of Livestrong, Suzanne Stone, who dismantled all of that thinking for me and was so forceful in delivering the message that I was so like, okay, I don't have to, I can give all of this stuff up and just start. So my husband and I, when we started the Canvas experience, we did start with 3/10 and we started as a side hustle. And so we were very, very busy last year, trying to start something and doing this on weekends and all that kind of stuff. And it was in January when I left my corporate job for good that, I said, okay, like if I focus on this, I could really make something of it. So we had a little bit of a window so that we could try. And it's, knock on wood, it really seems to be working.
You started the Canvas experience, and then what made you then think, okay, I need to do something around retreats now? Because essentially you've got two businesses, and that's quite a lot for one person who's just left a corporate job, and you've got family, you've got a husband, you've got a life. Tell me about that. What made you decide to take the rest of it on?
I think it was, I couldn't not do it. Once I saw the vision of how I could do it, it just made me so happy. Like I couldn't not do it. I don't know if that answers the question well enough, but it was like, and honestly, I mean, you're right in describing it. It is a lot, but I've never worked this hard and I've never been this happy, and I've worked pretty hard in my life, but it's that whole adage that people say, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that really was just a theory for, for as far as I was concerned, but it's true. It's really true because every day is different and I'm on a mission, and that is just so completely different. And so I couldn't not do it once I had the idea. And there is just nothing like bringing people together and seeing them connect with each other and seeing them refreshed, maybe a little bit more at peace, maybe, more reconnected to the universe. I mean, to be a part of that feels so useful. And I couldn't do anything else now.
Mm.
So like, whether the ship sinks or sails, I'm on it.
I love that you're enjoying it that much that it's just kind of, yeah, you don't care about the work because it doesn't feel like work. And
That's
I love that. So what can people expect if they are going to book or if they want to use your Canvas experience? Tell me a bit about that. Maybe tell us about the last job that you did and what was involved there.
Well, we've had a busy last week. We did a fantastic event for, believe it or not, a hotel. I wouldn't think, we were putting up tents for a hotel, but they just won. It's called Cedar Lakes Estate, and they just won Travel and Leisure's best hotel in New York. And they wanted to have a party for their employees and not make, have their employees have to clean all the rooms. So they had us set up all the tents and some party lounges, and they brought in hot air balloons and all kinds of stuff to celebrate. It was fantastic. And so it's a wonderful wedding and retreat venue, actually. So we're going to be working with them to hopefully expand what they're doing for their clients. And then we did two setups that were very similar. We had a huge sleepover for a whole weekend for 8 guys who were doing fantasy football draft on a beautiful property. And then the following night we had a huge sleepover, 2 tents with a surprise birthday party for a woman whose birthday's on Christmas. So her sister had a Christmas in July party for her and surprised her. It was great. It was so great. So we're all over the place. We're doing like party lounges and sleepovers and dining tents, we're trying to make anything that you can make in a tent. We'll do it.
I love that. So when it comes to the retreats, I mean, how does that fit? How does that fit into your work with, you know, what you're doing with the canvas?
Well, it's a great Venn diagram of businesses because both feed on each other and they're very compatible. Because, we have found some venues. We were at a place yesterday near New Paltz, New York, and we're setting up tents. And it's also like a great wedding venue that doesn't have a lot of accommodations. And so, from one perspective, we're working with him from the canvas experience to provide the tents and all of that. And from the other perspective, I'm going to go and have retreats there from Project 1490, and so it's a great, they're just both feeder businesses for each other, honestly, from that perspective, because they go hand in hand. And I don't have to use the glamping tents necessarily for every retreat, but it makes it so possible to either expand on a venue's accommodations or to find places where you otherwise wouldn't be able to go because there's no place to stay, but it's a beautiful piece of property. Then we're able to make it into something where you can be for a few days.
Mm. It's brilliant, isn't it? That you get this 5-star experience under canvas, but with the most amazing view.
Yeah.
And as you said, that the glamping and the retreats really do integrate like a
Yeah.
wonderful Venn diagram, and they do really interlink. One provides the experience on a accommodation level, so that adds to the experience on the event level. And the
Yeah.
two of them really do help each other. I hadn't really thought about it in terms of how your canvas experience would actually be a feeder business to your retreats and vice versa. So how do you think the glamping world is moving in America and the Americas in general? How do you think it is as a trend?
I feel like it's just boomed here, everywhere. A number of years ago, people a lot would say like, "Wait, what's glamping?" But now people not only know what it is, that most people have done it, that, "Oh, I went to so and so," or "I went to," I think here what still is new is mobile glamping. Even in the glamping industry, I've said, "Well, we do mobile glamping." They're like, "Mobile glamping? What is that?" So it's not as common. The fact that we live in an incredibly populated area, and we're really the only ones doing it for quite a while. There's people upstate New York, there's people in southern Jersey, but it's still something that's new enough that it needs explaining a bit. But I just think that the trend of getting people outside, making it easy, I think that's a big component of glamping and mobile glamping, that you don't have to, we're big campers as a family, and we have to start getting ready for our camping trip like 2 weeks before we go because there's so much stuff to pack. But if you're glamping, it just makes it so much more convenient and easy, whether it's a glamp ground or it's something that you want to do in your backyard. We find a lot of people too that they're not sure if they want to go camping. They're not sure if their kids are ready for it. They're not sure if their one spouse loves it, the other one doesn't, kind of thing. And so we're finding that we're a convenient option for those people as well, because they can test it out close to home, whether that's a close campground or it's their backyard. And we can do stuff like that for them and bring all the gear and make it really comfortable and luxurious. And if that takes, they can take the next step, and it's like a gateway drug to to the camping.
I love that. It really is. There was I remember a conversation I was having with a taxi driver once, and he was saying, "So what's all this business in America?" I won't do the accent because I'm rubbish at
Right.
accents, but imagine a lovely American accent, okay? And he said, "So what's all this business with glamping? What does it mean? What's it all about?" Because he knew I was going to the glamping event and kept taking me there every day. And I said, well, it's camping, but it's much better. And you don't have to think about packing anything. Everyone does everything for you. It's really easy. What's the point in that? Surely it's better to do it all yourself. And I said, okay, but what about your partner? Does your partner like camping? No, she doesn't really actually. She prefers hotels. What about your kids? Do they like it? No, I suppose they prefer hotels. And I said, so okay, imagine camping and hotels coming together. And actually, what you've got in the middle is glamping. And he started thinking then, okay, so you mean that I could actually go glamping, go hiking in the day, leave my kids
Yeah.
glamping so they're having fun, and I can go and do my own thing and I'll come back and they'll all be happy. And it's like, yep,
Right.
that's the way it works. It
I
was
think
like, sign me up.
the whole industry should have a slogan that just says glamping makes people happy, because like it's true. It's true. It's such a happy medium. For me, we were camping in the Adirondacks in a tent, like not a glamping tent, but it was the first year we had like gotten off the floor, and we had like a proper like air mattress cot kind of thing, and we brought sheets and proper comforters. We weren't in sleeping bags, and we had this torrential storm, and I was in this like super comfy bed with nice sheets and everything, and it was pouring with rain. I was totally dry, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, be this comfortable and have like nature be doing its thing right above me. It was so great. That's when I was like, oh, glamping. Yeah.
That was the moment you were sold. And who
Yeah.
knew then that you'd end up running the businesses that you're running?
Yeah.
So, in terms of your retreats business and moving into retreats, what would you say is the number one thing that you've learned since you've kind of gone into that whole arena of organizing events, thinking through events, and I suppose selling events as well? Because ultimately, everyone has to sell their own business when they're running a lifestyle business, whether that's glamping or retreats. So,
Yeah.
what would you say is the number one thing that you've learned about that?
I'm in the process of learning, but I think the things that are surprising me is that like people come for lots of different reasons. And you definitely want to try to narrow down sort of the persona and you've helped me so much with this, of like really focusing on a persona. And I think that does really help immensely attract sort of the people. But when they come, they're all individuals, and they all come for their own reasons to get something very specific out of it. And when you talk to them and listen, you can find that. And it may not be the reasons why you put it together. It may not be because other people are other people. And so it's important to do both, and like really have the persona in mind and know why you're doing it. But then like there's life that comes into it, when other people get involved, because they're there for their own reasons and they're bringing something else to the table, and that can sort of make it a little bit different than you thought it was. But that's okay. It actually makes it more alive in a lot of ways, and that's just been a surprise to me. Like, oh, you kind of have to let it go a little, have a form, have a structure, and then see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what would you say then if you had to start it all over again in terms of your retreat business? What would you do first to have the most impact fast?
I don't know. How soon did I call you? Because that would call you sooner.
So you call me sooner. That sounds brilliant.
And I'm not kidding about that. It's been a huge help to have someone who's walked the path before me, really saying, I've had some pretty ambitious ideas where you've said, hang on, just dial it back a little. And it's been so helpful. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's what I probably would gotten more help earlier, probably. But I feel like it's all so I'm in so much of the process now of ask me again in a year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And would you say it's the same for your canvas side of your business? Is that the same, or would you do something different there?
Ah, oh my gosh. From one perspective, yes, in that we've learned, oh, I didn't need to do that. Oh my gosh, I bought a whole bunch of stuff that nobody has ever rented. Right? I spent like $1,000 on like a silent disco that like nobody knows what a silent disco is and nobody cares. So like I'm gonna be hard pressed to ever get my money back on that one, I think. But so there's like little things along the way that like I probably could have done differently. But at in the big picture of things, I'm so glad I didn't wait for everything to be perfect or for me to know everything to what to do and be okay with making mistakes along the way, because if I hadn't, I just never would have gotten started. And so when I look back, I'm just happy I started because, mistakes or whatever, it's sort of, I have a wonderful friend through the Chief Network that said, no mistakes, no learning. And so if you got to be a little okay with that. And although I wouldn't have spent $1,000 on my silent disco, don't buy things until you know you need them. Right?
I don't know. I love a silent disco, you know. Honestly, we love it in the UK, silent
Oh,
discos.
well, maybe it's coming. Maybe I'm just ahead of the trend
I
here.
think you are. I think it's definitely going to kick off for you. And it particularly goes well with glamping. So some glamping hosts that I work with, they do silent discos because they're in a beautiful rural location. They don't want to have loads of music, like banging music, but everyone wants to have fun because they're there for a party. They love music. And so they're just dancing around the field with their music in their ears. No one else can hear them, and they're all having a really wonderful time.
It's so much fun. Honestly, it's like a totally different experience. So maybe it's just not selling it hard enough here.
I think it's just a matter of time. I think yeah, it's definitely coming. So don't worry about it. It's on its way to you. So if you had an opportunity to sit in front of somebody who was thinking of doing something similar to yourself, whether that's in retreats or whether that's in a canvas experience or whether that's in a static glamping site or anything else, of which there are so many business models for all of it, what would you say to them about getting started? Is there a mindset place they need to be in? Is there something that you've learnt about delivering the wow moment that you'd like to share with them? How would you kind of push them over the edge of them holding themselves back?
I think from my experience, practically speaking, I would have them write down all the reasons why they say they can't. And then just take on for a few minutes the possibility that all of those are invalid. They're either lies that we've told ourselves, or there's a way around, or through whatever the obstacle is. And just for a second, believe that that might be the reality of the situation, and then think from there about what's possible. And if you're anything like me, it doesn't have to be the next Airbnb. It can be just your thing that you do with 3 tents to start with, but getting it going is the most important thing, because you just don't know who you're going to meet and how it's going to what the next thing is. But I'm learning to really try to love the process and not just the end game, right? Like love the process of it, because as it's unfolding, we've only been doing this for a year, and we had somebody reach out yesterday who wants us to partner with them on their weddings and events, and up in the Catskills. And a year ago, I was writing to people, like with farms and wedding venues and everything, and nobody even answered me. So I was like, oh my God, somebody's reaching out to us. It was such a moment of, you just don't know how it's gonna, but you'll never know if you don't just take the first step. You don't have to know all the other steps, just the first step. And whatever those reasons are that you're telling yourself that you can't do it, they just might be incorrect.
Yeah, it's that kind of limiting belief, isn't it? It's that fear of stepping outside of your comfort zone because, oh my goodness, that's where the bear is and it might attack me. And that's the brain, isn't it? The prehistoric part of your brain, the lizard brain and the monkey brain, trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And it's telling you, don't go outside of the cave, don't do this because you're not going to be safe out there. And so we have this immense sense of fear and not feeling comfortable, and what if it's going to fail, it's going to fail. And we talk ourselves out of doing these amazing things in our life
Yeah.
until we're looking back and we're thinking we're running out of time.
That's right.
And it's about gripping that sense of feeling uncomfortable, stepping out of the comfort zone and just doing it, and just doing it in a measured way, obviously not taking ridiculous risks, but doing it in a measured way. And then, as you say, doors will open and things will happen. But unless you step into that area, nothing's going to happen. All the doors will remain closed.
And this particular business, I don't know if this is true for everybody who does it, but for us, it's very physical, because we're doing mobile glamping. And while we've just now started to really get crews together that help us, or put up and set down and all that kind of stuff. And Project 1490 is certainly physical, like between all of the kinds of activities. I had kept thinking, oh, I'll do this when I'm going to retire and I don't have to worry about whether it's going to make money or not and all that kind of stuff. I don't have to make it a success, is basically, like the fear that I had. And I thought, wow, like how am I going to stay that in shape for that long? And how long am I going to have to do it if I start it when I'm 60 something, And so I'm 50 something, and I'm feeling like, wish I had maybe started this in my 30s, but at least I started, and it's very motivating to keep myself healthy and in shape, because the longer I can do this, the happier I'm going to be with my life.
Sometimes we think, oh, I'm getting older, I need to do less, it's important I do less. But actually, as we get older, we need to do more,
Yeah.
because that's what keeps us fit. That's what keeps us vital. That's what keeps us engaged in the world as we grow older. Otherwise, we're just going to end up, sitting on a sofa and letting life pass us by. So it's just so lovely to hear that this business for you has really helped to deliver a new phase in your life, which you're really excited by. And I can see that by how energetic you are about it. And so, have you got any final thoughts in terms of what you would say to someone who's still maybe a little bit sitting on the fence and not quite ready to take that step?
You've only got one life, we all do, as far as we know. And if we don't certainly don't remember it. So, if I mean, it's like now or never in that way, right? So if you've got the itch to do it, you know, I always heard people talk about, and artists, like really great artists, people say like, what made you become a singer or a painter or whatever? And it's like, I couldn't do anything but that. Like they couldn't not do it. And so if something is like nagging at you like that, or like itching to do it, it's like, you got to find a way to try, you
Mm,
know, and that's, that the help that you've given me so much of, you don't have to try it alone.
yeah.
You can get help, and you can get, people who have walked the road before you to, help guide you along the path so you make less mistakes, and that certainly can be very helpful. So you don't have to go half cocked or anything, but just think about what you could do. What you
I
could
love
do.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. Because we only have one life, don't we? And it would be such a shame not to enjoy the ride. You know, totally love that. And also it's that thing, isn't it? When you're camping, it's like be aware of the open road ahead, but don't be afraid to wander from it because, actually getting lost is good because you discover amazing things. It's exactly the same in business. We have to wander from the path.
Right.
And I think in a way that's what you're doing because you've really wandered from the corporate world that you knew so well to doing this. And look
Yeah.
how happy it's made you. So I'm just really over the moon for you. And I'm really wishing you amazing success as you go forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you've been a big part of it for me, so I appreciate it very much.
And so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, find out more about your business, share for everyone your website, both your website links.
Okay, so our mobile glamping business is the Canvas Experience, and you can find us at thecanvasexperience.com. And the women's membership community of badassery is project1490.com. Both on Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Wonderful. And I will share the links as well for that. And I can't wait to see where this takes you because I have huge, big ideas about where you're going. And I really cannot wait. I'm going to be sitting in the audience watching as you move forward and do this next amazing business and this next idea. And yeah, it's just brilliant. So I applaud you and your family. And yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you for spending your time today with me and speak to you soon.